Hello, so I'm gonna click play right now, and here we go. This is me building my own custom computer. I'm going to put all of the specs and whatnot down in the description. I had a lot of help with this PC build, and this is also my first time ever building a computer, which will be very apparent once we get started and see me doing stuff. It was a mess. It was a long day. I think I started this build at 2 p.m. and then ended it like maybe 2 a.m. I was doing it for about 12 hours. It was tough. But I've never built my own computer before, and it's something that I've always wanted to do. My computer was in desperate need of an upgrade, and my previous PC before this was a pre-built, and so I was like, you know what? Let's just start fresh. Let's start new. And that is exactly what I did. So you can see me, I'm currently on a FaceTime call. My iPhone is on a tripod. It's a little busted, but it worked. And I am on the phone with fellow creator Adef Clay, who helped me build this computer for 12 hours straight. Was on the phone with me on FaceTime for 12 hours straight. Truly a real one. I also want to thank Shock Noble and Noob Sniper for their help. Noob really helped us out throughout this entire build. Whenever Clay and I ever had a question, Noob was there to help answer. You can see me right now. I just unwrapped the motherboard. My first step. But yeah, Noob, I cannot thank you enough for your help with this build. You really helped us when we had no idea what was going on. Shock, I hopped in a call with Shock a while back, and he helped kind of, set up like the base of what we wanted to do with this computer and figure out my goals. And I wouldn't have been able to do this without those three people and their help. So I cannot thank you three enough for helping me build this computer. So I believe the first thing I did, it's been a few weeks now since I did this. There's Clay on my iPhone. But I started with the motherboard, and then I believe the first thing we did was we put the RAM in. So I'm looking through the manual. I'm showing the manual to Clay, and I believe the RAM was the first step. Actually, no, I'm an idiot. It's all coming back to me. The first step was the CPU part. So taking that, again, I'm a beginner. I don't know PC parts very well. This was my first time ever seeing parts really in a PC before, learning what they did, what each individual part looks like. I'm taking the CPU, like processor chip, right? And I am putting that in. And this was very scary. I'm just scared to touch things, but I'm unboxing it there. All right, now is time for the RAM. So I am unboxing the RAM, and in my old PC, the only thing I ever upgraded was my RAM, and I had that computer for 3 years, and the only thing I ever did was RAM. So I knew that this was gonna be pretty fine because I had done it before with my old computer. But for some reason, one of the sticks was like really not clicking in, and eventually it did. I really had to push, but it's just so scary because I'm like, oh my god, what if I break something, or I don't know what I'm doing, and these parts are so expensive and fragile that I'm terrified of pushing too hard or whatever because I'm so scared I'm gonna break something. But eventually I got it in. It was just a little stressful, I cannot deny. Alrighty, and now the next step was I believe this is the storage, right? Something like that. The SSD, hard drive, memory storage. I don't know, something like that. I apologize. I don't know anything. I believe I just took off the heatsink, right? I don't remember. It's been so long. And I didn't mention this, but obviously I am putting everything on the motherboard now. We did this just to make sure that the parts, instead of like doing it in the computer case, we did this just so that we could make sure all of the parts worked and we could do a test outside of the case before we put it all in the case. But yeah, I just took off the little bit, that little metal bit, and I am about to put the storage in, drop that in, and then screw that bad boy on. That's all, folks. I had watched like a few how to build a computer videos, but I did not remember this beforehand. And so this part was a bit of like probably the most stressful part up to now. Like the previous 2 parts I was fine, but this definitely was the most stressful part for me. At the moment, I had a big storm coming with the power supply and then the motherboard stuff, but this was tough. Just because it was kind of hard to convey what was going on over FaceTime as somebody who just didn't know what was going on. And so this was a lot of like Clay trying to explain stuff, me watching a video to make sure, me like pulling up YouTube, watching a video, make sure the right stuff was happening. But eventually I got that thing in and all was well, and my storage was in. All right, now is time for hell. This really, like looking back on it now, this should have been way easier than it was, but now it's time to do the CPU cooler. This was awful because of so many reasons, but this was definitely the hardest thing one of the hardest things. This was the first roadblock. Everything else was going pretty smoothly and like not taking long at all. And I was thinking to myself like, oh my God, we might be done with this like way sooner than I was expecting. And I was feeling really optimistic. This is where things started to go on a decline. I struggled so much with the CPU cooler. So I just put the thermal paste onto the CPU, which was so scary to me, and then put this bad boy on top of it, and I'm screwing it in. And then all I have to do here is just put the fans in between each little tower thing, put the brackets on, and we're good to go. It probably took an hour. You're not gonna watch that full hour of struggling, but holy moly, getting it to fit around like the RAM and like it was a hot mess. I really struggled here. Looking back, I bet this would be so much easier now, but there are the fans. I struggled so much with the brackets and like just figuring out where the brackets go, and it was a lot. It was quite a bit. I also was like trying to figure out like which way to put the fans in. Like fans were no fun. Putting the fans, it was no good, but we eventually got it figured out. But this was definitely the first low point of the PC build. I cannot tell if we finished the fans or not, but now I am opening up my graphics card. I don't remember exactly what was going on. It looks like one fan is in. I can't tell if both are in though. I think both are in. But I'm unboxing the big boy now, which is the graphics card. And this was the scariest part for sure, I feel like, because this thing is huge. And little did we know that we were not going to be able to get this thing off once we put it on the motherboard. We did not know this at the time. I can't even get into why. Like, we probably after some time could have gotten it off, but whatever. We'll get there whenever we get to the PC case part. But I am unboxing the graphics card now. Look at me go. There she goes. It's coming off. It's coming off. And I just was so scared because this thing was so expensive and was the last PC part to come in of all of like the parts I ordered. This was the one that took forever to get there. Yeah, I'm unboxing that bad boy, and then we're gonna place her on. And this took a lot of. I was scared. I was terrified. I go and I touch the little screw on the outlet, and we are vibing. We are looking. We are learning. We are making discoveries. We are building our brain up. We are seeing. Oh, that's how the graphics card goes onto the motherboard. I'm learning here. I'm learning a lot. Clay likes to call this adult Legos, and I think I could agree with that. And then as I put the graphics card on, I realized, oh, there is so much stuff still on the graphics card that I need to peel off. Just protective stuff, whatever. And now I'm taking that off. Feeling like an idiot and taking it off. All right, now it is power supply time. I think everything to do with the power supply is my least favorite. I keep saying this is my least favorite part, but oh my lord, the power supply was so... It's too much. It was too much. Nothing was clicking into the motherboard correctly. It was a lot. First, we unwrapped it and like got the power supply out. And then that bag, that like little black shiny bag, has all of the cords and whatnot in to plug into the motherboard, to supply whatever. all the cords, and it was such a mess trying to figure out which cords went where. I really need to buy some new ones just to make things look a lot more sleek and just better in my computer. My computer's wiring is like a mess right now, but whatever, works. But yeah, the power supply part, this was my first mental breakdown. Like the CPU cooler was tough. This was something else. The power supply is currently behind the motherboard and like the motherboard box, so you can't see me plugging things into the power supply and then trying to figure out where it goes on the motherboard, but that is what I'm doing right now. And this was awful. There was one specific, it's whatever the biggest plug is that goes onto the big one, the really long one, whatever that one is. I don't know what it's called. I can't remember. It's been so long since I've done this, but whatever that one was the hardest plug for me. It was not clicking into place. I was really struggling to hear the click noise I was supposed to hear. You can see in my face I am going through it, and it was bad. The power supply was so frustrating, and at the moment I had no idea that I was gonna have to unplug it all and do it again whenever it came to moving things into my PC, but I will have to do that. But yeah, this is literally just me plugging things into the power supply, things not working, having a breakdown. The glasses came off because I was starting to like sweat and my glasses were like falling off my nose. It was something else, but things were not clicking and I was getting upset at this point. All right, unfortunately, I wish I didn't do this, but I stopped recording whenever we did the test. So after we got everything in the power supply, I did the screwdriver test, which was really scary, where I put a screwdriver onto a pin to boot up everything to see if it worked, and it took 2 tries. The first time I tried the screwdriver test, it did not work. Then the second time that I tried it, it worked, and everything turned on. The fans were moving. You can see I have things plugged into a monitor, and it worked. I wish so badly I was recording for it, but I was not. But yeah, we got everything to work, which was super exciting. Seeing everything like go on to the monitor was really exciting. Just seeing everything on the motherboard work was a very validating feeling, knowing that I did it by myself physically, but obviously Clay was there through every step of the way to help out. So now it's time for the case, and a big storm was coming. I originally thought that this was gonna take like 2 seconds, like just drop it in and it'll be great. But we messed up a few times doing this, which you will see in a second. And for me, up to this point, I'm like, okay, the power supply was definitely the worst part. I hated that. That was awful. I had no idea that I was gonna have to fiddle with the power supply 2 times, and I just wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. But this is me, I think, just like getting stuff ready, and we're looking at the case, seeing how things are going to be dropped in and whatnot, what to unscrew. We thought we were missing screws and that they just forgot to include the screws when they sent me my case, but they were actually just like hiding in the bottom of the case for some reason. This is me looking for the screws. Clay thought I lost them, which is an understandable thought. But then I'm in there, and there they are. The screws have been found. You love to see it. Alrighty, so I got some like little containers and paper plates out to just like organize my screws. I didn't want to like just throw screws around and whatnot, so that helped me with knowing which screws were where, so I could separate them but also organize them. I'm taking off the back of the PC case. There where all the screws and whatnot are, in that little bag right there. Yeah, so this is gonna be interesting. Dropping the motherboard into the computer case was something else for sure. That is for sure. Okay, so it is time to drop the motherboard into the case, but we figure out very quickly that my graphics card is not coming off. It is not coming off. So I can't remember exactly why, but there was something going on where some like screw or something, I can't remember, but if I wanted to take my graphics card off and drop the motherboard into the case, I was gonna have to like basically start over with putting everything on the motherboard. So we opted into just me dropping the motherboard into the case with the graphics card still on it. It was a little scary, I'll be honest. My hands are shaking whenever I do this, but I'm mentally preparing. I'm showing Clay the motherboard. We are going back and forth, constantly back and forth. I have been genuinely looking forward to rewatching me try to pick up the motherboard and put it in, because this was so hard. I could not figure out. I kept picking it up, putting it back down, picking it up, putting it back down. There's one point where I put my leg up on the table to try to get, do you see that? And I give myself a cramp. I have a cramp. Literally so stupid. And then third time's a charm, baby. Here we go. I'm just trying to line up the motherboard with the holes, you know, that are in the PC. And I believe I got it. Yeah, so we're all good now. She fell in. All is well. She's securely in there. I just cannot believe I gave myself a freaking Charlie horse. I thought it would help me be more steady, putting my leg up on the table as I dropped the motherboard in. It was bad. It was no good. It was bad. But now she's in, and you can't see the back of my computer where I'm trying to make sure everything is lined up properly. But everything is lined up properly, and now I am trying to put the screws in to screw the motherboard into place. I don't have a magnetic screwdriver though. And so my dad, aka Mountain Biker, aka Star Wars fan, if you've ever seen him in my Twitch chat, he is going to make an appearance. He's gonna come in with that sweet, sweet magnetic screwdriver and save the day. It is genuinely hilarious rewatching this back because you can see there is a little bit of wiring happening right there, and that is because I, not knowingly, put screwed in the motherboard already. It's already screwed in and secured. I screwed it onto a fan wire. And so instead of unscrewing everything and taking it out and like starting this process over, which honestly probably wouldn't even have been that bad, I decide to just cut that fan wire and just RIP to that fan. I bought extra fans anyway, so it didn't really matter that much. I do feel kind of bad about like not using that fan, but I did buy extra and better fans. And so it didn't really matter. I was able to just replace that fan, but it didn't feel too good to cut that wire. But I did not want to start over and take out the entire motherboard, especially with the graphics card on. Like there was no way. There was simply no way. All right, this is me discovering that the wire exists and that we're gonna have to cut it. And me and Clay are currently debating, okay, do we start over and like, not really start over, you know, but like, do we take everything out or do we cut the wire? What's the move here? Eventually I do decide to just cut it and just move on. I got extra fans, we vibe. And speaking of fans, it's time to install the fans. It took a little bit to try and like understand which way the fans needed to go, but they're in correctly. Do not worry. Me and Clay double checked with a few other people to make sure they were in right. Looked it up, all is well. I can look right now. I put 3 fans on the side and then 1 fan on the other side, if that makes any sense. When I'm looking at my computer, there's 1 on the left, 3 on the right. When I'm looking at the glass part of my case. Got those bad boys in. We're doing a lot of research about how there's like a bunch of different ways you can put your fans in, whatnot. Some people put them on the top, whatever, but we put them in that way. I remember we struggled a little bit with the placement, but we got the fans in and a big storm was coming, aka the power supply. All right, so I have unplugged everything clearly from the power supply, like from the motherboard, and I am now putting the power supply into the bottom of my computer, and I really struggled to get this in, and I had no idea, but I was actually putting it in upside down, which is really awesome. I get to figure that out later and then flip it over and unplug everything. It was awesome. It was sickening. I was so upset. It was no good, but that's okay. That is okay. That is all we were learning. Also, these wires were so fucking stiff. I was like, am I just weak? Which it was probably a combination if I'm keeping it real, but I was really struggling to move the wires around and whatnot. But yeah, I'm putting this power supply in fully upside down like an idiot. Screwing it in It's upside down, girl. What are you doing? Why screw it in when it's upside down? I had no idea. But yeah, so that was cool. That was awesome. I'll figure it out later. It is now later, and I am realizing that, oh no, it is in fact upside down. Thankfully, it honestly wasn't too bad. I thought I was gonna have to like unplug everything from the motherboard as well, which plugging stuff into the motherboard was really tough. I was really struggling with like my cable management and just the cables in general. They were so hard to maneuver. But what I ended up doing was just taking the power supply out, unplugging everything from the power supply, flipping it over, and then just replugging it in and putting it back in from there. It was so annoying, and it was like probably 11 p.m. I was not happy, but that's okay. That's okay. These mistakes happen. It was my first time. I'm learning, and I'm just glad we were able to catch that mistake. And finally, I was done. There was a really terrible storm happening at the time I was building it, so I didn't really feel like testing it and turning my computer on and getting things set up. So I ended up just, once all the wires and whatnot were in, I put everything back on, just like screwed everything back onto the case and whatnot, and called it there, and was like, I'll just test it in the morning and hopefully it works. And thankfully it did. It worked well. And everything turned on correctly, and I got Windows installed, and it was great. And it was a huge moment for me, just knowing that, yes, I needed a ton of help. Having somebody willingly spend their entire day with you on FaceTime to help you build a computer is not something to take for granted, and I'm very grateful that I had Clay help me do that. It was really helpful. A lot more helpful than if I were just following along a YouTube video, though there is a YouTube video for everything nowadays. But yeah, it was super helpful, and I am just very grateful for his guidance. Thank you again, Noob. We called and talked to Noob like a million times throughout this entire build, and that helped as well. But overall, I think all three of us really built something awesome here, and I'm just really happy it's done, and I can say that I physically built my PC. Like, I built it. I did that. I had a lot of help over the phone, but I did it. And I learned a lot. And I'm going to finally, I think, flip it around. Maybe not flip it around. Will I show you what it looks like inside? Maybe. Maybe not. Probably not. I can insert a picture. It's a mess in there, if I'm keeping it real. So you don't really want to see. No. I just set it down. Okay. We set it down, we tuck her in for the night. We look over her one more time, and we built a PC.